Hey guys, thank you for visiting the channel. So you've been considering buying a Harley Davidson or maybe another motorcycle from out of state, and you live in California. One thing that you should really keep in mind before you do that, because the state of California has some very strange requirements on importing vehicles from out of state. So I was about to buy this 2017 Night Rod from a dealership in Minnesota and worked out the deal. Great deal, actually, if you're looking for a nearly new night rod in or around Eden Prairie, Minnesota. You got to give these guys a call because it was just a great overall bike, and I can't find another one quite in as good a condition anywhere else in the country. And it's a shame that I can't bring it to California. And you may be wondering, why can't you bring this to California? Because when I scroll down here, this vehicle only has 2,700 miles on it. And that seems like a really great thing, given that it's a 2017. It's 3 years, 2,700 miles fits into that pretty nicely. I don't usually like buying older bikes that have very few miles, because that just means they've just been sitting in a garage and you know um, not really be getting used. So this is the perfect example of something I would go for, and I worked out a great price with these guys, and we were ready to do the paperwork. In fact, I even sent them my deposit, and lo and behold, um, I go down here. This is the DMV website. I'll put a link to this document in the description. And it basically says that if what you're buying is a 49 state vehicle, okay, you can't register it in California if it's considered new. Now, anybody in the right mind would not say that this is a new vehicle, right? It's a 2017 with 2,800 miles on it. That's not new in my book. But California has very special rules for new. It's considered new if it has less than 7,500 miles on it. Now, you and I know that with a car, 7,500 miles, not a lot of miles. That's still considered new for the most part. But motorcycles, I would say the majority of motorcycles that are less than 10 years old have less than 7,500 miles. Motorcycles are recreational vehicles. A lot of guys out there that go buy them, they don't ever ride them. I mean, there's tons of bikes out there that have less than 1,000 miles on them, and they're 10 years old. And I see that every day. There. Don't get me wrong. There's guys out there that put 20, 30,000 miles on a bike in a couple of years. So there's all kinds of riders out there. But for the most part, the majority of motorcycles have less than 7,500 miles on them. So there's no way around this, guys. If you don't have a 50 state vehicle, okay, and you have less than 7,500 miles, you can't register it in California, right? So the only exception really is if it was obtained as a part of divorce, inheritance, or legal separation, purchased to replace a stolen vehicle, right? So let's say you had a bike and you're purchasing this to replace it. That's one of the recourses, and then or if it was destroyed or made inoperative, so you're just replacing basically a total lost vehicle. If it's an emergency vehicle, which obviously this isn't, if the vehicle that you're buying was registered by you in another state, and you're bringing it over to California as your own vehicle since it was already registered in another state, meaning you're not buying it from out of state for your use in California. You already bought it when you were out of state, registered it, and now you're bringing it in. Or if it's a street motorcycle with an engine less than 50 cubic centimeters, so 50 cc's of displacement, which obviously this 1,250 cc night rod doesn't fit into that category. So those are the exceptions, and this doesn't fit. You can check there's a sticker on most vehicles. When you open the hood of a car, there's always a sticker that says if it's a 50 state vehicle, 49 state vehicle. Most cars these days are 50 state vehicles. So when you buy them out of state, you don't really have to worry about it if it's 50 state or 49 state. It'll be stated underneath there. And like I said, most manufacturers are only making 50 state vehicles nowadays because it's just not worth it for them. But the reason I am making this video is because Harley seems to be one of the few manufacturers that still uh, makes 49 state vehicles. And really, the only difference is just the canister that they add to the bike for emission purposes. And it's not on the 49 state vehicles, right? So, how do you know if your bike is a 49 state vehicle or not? So, what I did is I went down here and I looked at this VIN. The VIN number on this is actually, it was on their website. So if I go here, here's the VIN number. So I took this VIN number and I wrote it down. And then I also looked for, so I basically just Googled for Harley VIN decoder. And right here in the third position in Google is this tab performance Harley VIN decoder or explainer anyway. So there's not you can't type in your VIN and see whatever, but you can see what the different parts of the VIN are made out of, which is really nice that Tab went through the hassle of doing this. But you can do this for any brand out there. You'll find a website that eventually will break down the VIN for you, if you're lucky, I guess. But Tab does this for Harley, and these guys are great. They make performance bikes for Harley Davidsons. So I basically looked at this, and the here's the VIN. So you got the manufacturer, the class, which is the weight class essentially. So my bike, well, the bike I was hoping to get. So I wrote it all out here. So this basically means it was manufactured for sale within the United States. Well, that sounds good. Within the United States, it's a heavyweight motorcycle. So anything over 901 cc's is considered a heavyweight. HH stands is basically the model. So this is the V-Rod Night Rod Edition, which is VRS CDX. And then H is the engine size. So this is a 1246, and that's what that stands for. So you can see all of this right here. So this is the engine displacement. So H is 1246. And so the next digit, which is the eighth digit, is the one we're really interested in. And this is true for all Harleys, this eighth digit. And that's the one that kind of really screws me, because this introduction period, 1 is domestic. 3, as you can see, is California. So are 5 and 6. So if you get a 3, 5, or 6 in the eighth digit of your VIN, you're safe for bringing a vehicle into California with less than 7,500 miles. However, if it's a 1, which is most out-of-state vehicles are 1, well, most out-of-state Harleys are 1 in the eighth digit, then you can't bring it into California until it's got 7,500 miles on it. So what are some ways around that? If you're close to 7,500 miles, you can get your temporary permit from the state that you're buying it from, the dealer that you're buying it from. You can get a temporary permit. Once you get it here, maybe let's say you're 400 or 500 miles away. Just ride it 400 or 500 miles, and you should be good to go. But if you're thousands of miles away, guys, which what this bike was, and I don't ride that much. I got plenty of motorcycles and cars and stuff. I can't put 5,000 miles on one bike in a year. That would be pretty difficult for me to do. I would have to just ride that bike. And essentially, it made it a non-starter. I had to call them up and say, hey, man, sorry to waste your time. It doesn't seem like I can register that vehicle here. And they were super understanding. They say, yeah, that's totally fine. We'll refund your deposit for you. I haven't seen that deposit come back yet, but I'm confident they will do that. But man, what a beautiful bike. And I guess I'll just keep looking for a California bike Um, as you can see right here, 2783 miles. This bike was basically brand new. Anyway, so that's how you find out if you can bring it into California. I don't recommend testing this out. Meaning, if you've got a 3,000 mile vehicle, you want to bring it to California and try to register it. That is not something that's going to work. Now, with motorcycles, there's no emission requirements, which is what makes this even more hilarious. You're not you're not required to get a bike smog checked in California, but try to explain that to the DMV. Hey, I'm not supposed. This isn't supposed to meet some emissions requirements. So what's the problem? And they'll just tell you, hey, it's not a 49 state vehicle. It's a 49 state vehicle. It has less than 7,500 miles on it. End of conversation. And so I read a bunch of stuff online, and I thought I would share with you guys, what my findings were and how to find out, if your bike's a California vehicle or not. So this only applies to Harleys, this introduction period. But the way VIN numbers work is essentially the anatomy is kind of the same, more or less, but each manufacturer can decide what they're going to use that number for. And this number here is a check number, so this essentially checks. It's like a checksum. It checks to make sure that the rest of this all makes sense. So don't worry about that number. Then this number here is the year, and there's a chart below which plant it was made in and what production number you are. So funny enough, I couldn't find out what plant C was because it's not listed in the TAP Performance site, but I'm assuming it's one of their plants. And then this was the production number for the bike. Anyway, if you have any questions, go ahead and leave them in the comments. And if you have any suggestions, or if maybe you know a way around this, I'd like to hear it. Thanks for watching, guys.